Hello, my friend. A very blessed Monday, January 27th, 2025, to you and to yours. I pray that this finds you well from wherever and whenever you are tuning in. The message for today is Embracing Childlike Faith in 2025. Subtitle, Go Be Great, Zeke. So, Napoleon Hill, in his classic book, Think and Grow Rich, has a second chapter titled Desire. And in that chapter, at the very end, he has a segment titled Desire Outwits Mother Nature. And he tells the testimony of his own son who was born without any physical ears. Matter of fact, down the road, when they are able to do an x-ray on his skull, they realize that there is no visible opening between his skull and his brain. Translated, he would never be able to hear, he would never be able to speak. And the doctors made that very, very clear. However, Napoleon Hill goes on to narrate how he refused to settle for that because he had a burning desire as well as faith that his son would not only be able to hear and speak, but he would also be able to lead a successful and normal life. And so down the road, by accident, they discovered that his son could actually hear a little bit. And Napoleon Hill discovered that if he could speak and put his lips at the base of his son's skull and speak loudly, that his son could hear to a degree. And he was like, bingo, that's exactly what I need to be able to translate the same desire and faith that I have onto my son. Because as a child, he is still innocent and has not been conditioned to accept his handicap as a liability. And so Napoleon Hill went on to craft bedtime stories that he told his son over many, many years. And essentially in the bedtime stories, he would tell his son, Blair, that he was going to be able to hear just fine, he was going to be able to speak just fine, and that what looked as a physical handicap was actually his greatest advantage and his greatest asset. Long story short, the son ended up hearing and speaking. Down the road, he needed to use the aid of an electronic hearing device, but he also went on to be very, very successful. And Napoleon Hill attributes all of that to the fact that he chose to have a burning desire and to have faith. And because of that, nature cooperated with him, essentially to bring forth that miracle. So when I read that, I was really inspired myself because, as I've shared, I have a son who is on the spectrum and who started out being completely nonverbal. Now, at the time I read this book, Zeke had a few words. And so I thought to myself, like Napoleon Hill, bingo. Maybe I can come up with some affirmations that Zeke and I could say every day that would help to instill faith and to instill confidence in him. So, at the time, the Chiefs, had started their rise and they were doing good. By the way, go Chiefs. And every now and then, as I would watch a Chiefs game, I would hear Mahomes tell his teammates, and they would tell each other, go be great, go be great. And so that inspired the affirmation that I came up with for Zeke and myself. And it goes something like this. It's a 4-part affirmation, and we start by saying, God is my portion. God is great. I am great. Go be great. And here's the thinking behind that affirmation. God is my portion. I believe that the game changer for you and me is when we truly understand what it means that we are created in God's image. And we start seeing ourselves having the self-image that connects with the image of God in us. So God is my portion. Number 2, God is great. Number 3, I am great. Yeah, because if God is my portion and He is great, if I'm created in God's image and He is great, then I am great. And then the last part of the affirmations is go be great. Because I believe with all my heart that because we are created in God's image, we were born great. There is greatness in us. We are not trying to be great. It's just a matter of growing in awareness of the greatness that is within us and letting it out. In the words of the song by the Beatles, just let it be. Let it be. You see, children are innocent, and because they have not yet succumbed to all the negative conditions that you and I have, they can believe. They can tap into their childlike faith. You had that same childlike faith. Remember all the dreams that you had of what you would be when you grew up? And then the adults in your life slowly started basically imparting upon you their own limitations. And life, and maybe the circumstances of life, started basically dumbing down that dream. And before you knew it, that childlike faith was thrown out the window as you and I settled for what we called reality. But you see, that's there are two kinds of reality. There's the reality of your external circumstances, but there's the reality of your internal awareness and being. And you and I were created not to respond to external realities, but to operate from the place of internal reality where we know who we are in God. And that resulting in faith for us to overcome what is impossible. That nature operates effortlessly. Grass grows effortlessly. Birds fly effortlessly. Fish swim effortlessly. Why? They do not have a mind that sows negative limitations. And so they just operate. They basically let the greatness of God in them, the things that God created them to be and do, they just let it be effortlessly. You and I, on the other hand, we have a mind, which is actually our greatest asset. It's the thing that makes us godlike, but it's a double-edged sword. If you use it in the positive, it is a blessing. If you use it to sow seeds of limitation, it will stop and stifle the godlike ability in you. It's Jeff Allen, a Harvard psychologist and the father of modern day psychology, in his book As a Man Thinketh, who said that our minds can make a hell of heaven and they can make a heaven of hell. That double-edged sword again. So, as Zeke and I have faithfully recited these affirmations, and we try to do it on a daily, we might miss a day here and there, but by and large we see it every day. I have seen such an improvement upon him and upon his development. Why? Because he takes our affirmations on childlike faith. And so, my friend, I'm coming here today maybe to just say, what are those dreams that you had as you were growing up? And could it be possible that you could tap again into that childlike faith where you set aside the reasoning of logic, because your brain just uses logic, and because it wants to protect you, it will always use the logic that is based on your current circumstances. The current circumstances that tell you you will never be anything more than what your physical eyes are saying. But listen, there's an internal reality of the image of God, of the unlimited potential of God inside you. And when you start relating yourself to that, when you start adopting a self-image that is congruent not with the external circumstances, but with the internal reality of who you are and whose you are, then you too can develop that desire and burning faith that helps you transcend even the biggest of obstacles in your life. So how could you tap into that childlike faith? And if you have the awesome privilege of maybe having a child or people that you mentor, people that you lead, you see, a lot of the limitations you and I have stem from something that somebody that loved us and that was in authority said. If you are in that place of authority, how could you turn that around? And rather than stifle the dreams and the childlike faith of maybe the people you mentor, be the catalyst that really, really fires it up. So that's it, my friend. I pray that in 2025, you embrace that childlike faith that chooses to believe that you are who God says you are, that you can do what God says you can do, and that you can have what God says that you can have. Chew and hold on to that reality like a bone, ignoring anything that the external circumstances might say. And maybe, just maybe, you too might achieve some incredible things in this year. So in parting, allow me just to leave you with my affirmation and Zeke's affirmation. God is your portion. God is great. You are great. Go be great. God bless you until next time. Bye-bye.